Yeah, this is a very fascinating topic for me, of course, and goes to my heart a little bit. So perhaps I should just say in the beginning for the understanding. We were working for 15 years in African mountains, in this northern part of Africa until the equator. And then we began to feel the representative which we met in these different mountains, they have no idea what happens in another part of Africa. So when we had this soil erosion program in Ethiopia, we used the opportunity and said, now we invite scientists from all mountain areas of Africa to a first meeting. SDC helped also, United Nations University helped, UNESCO helped to make it well known, and this was the first conference in Addis Ababa with representatives of the different African mountain systems. And then these member participants were very fascinated, and at the end of the conference we declared from now on exists an African Mountain Association. Very simple. So not big data, but only just foundation of an association. And this idea was quite a success. From then on, we were several follow-up all 3 years in another part, and I think today is a little bit from North Africa in Rabat and to South Africa in Lesotho or Madagascar. There were now 6, 7 meetings since this 86. But never is it not possible in Africa to create a convention because these mountain systems are so dispersed all over the continent, it would not be realistic. Perhaps in future it could be for East Africa, where you have Rwenzori, Kenya, Kilimanjaro. This could be a possibility, but on one side the scientific basis is not very strong. The political links are not so easy and so on. So for the moment I think it would be very difficult to do something like that. Also the Northern Africa could do something for the Atlas system, but it would be perhaps better to bring it together with the Southern European Mediterranean mountains, then it would be an interaction. Some initiatives are started, but not specifically just for the mountains, but for a cooperation in general between Southern Europe and Northern Africa. So, also Africa is quite difficult. But it was an important point for the Rio conference also, because we could say the African mountains have an association and a cooperation, and this was a very important point. And in 91, when we had this project in the Andes, we did exactly the same. We were we wanted an introductory speech about an overview about the Andes. We could not find somebody in the Andes because there were no connection. They had not the money to travel, never the money to work in another country's mountains in the Andes. And so we had to invite a German specialist. And I felt very bad in a way. I said, this is not possible. Then we founded the American or the Latin American Mountain Association in 91, just 1 year shortly before Rio. And this was also an important point, I think, to bring in and to say, we have now ECMOD. This was the existing Himalayan. There was African Mountain Association and the South American Mountain Association. And we could come to the Rio conference with 3 continents, the biggest mountain systems in a way, a little bit organized, very loose in Africa, but well working in South America, and ECMOD as an institution, but not another continent had the same. So now comes the Rio conference. And now I must confess something very special. There was, in autumn 91, was the 3rd preparatory conference for Rio. There were 2 before, always in another continent, and the 3rd one was in Geneva. And then the representative of SDC said to me, now, it is the last moment for a mountain chapter to bring it in now. I said, okay, yeah, good. But I did not really realize how important now this moment will be. So, and I said to him, but I have such a lot to do, with a lot of students, no business and so on. He wanted that I'm coming for 2 weeks. I said, this is not possible during the term, you know, and so on. And then he phoned me again and said, now you should come. In 2 days is the chance to bring in this thing. I said, oh, but I have such a lot to do. Now I say only, this is one of my biggest mistakes in my life, that I did not clearly realize how important now this moment is for the future of the mountains and the significance a little bit in the world. After the reoccurrence, I said, how silly could I be? It is unbelievable. Huh? But then I began to realize. So this was the 3rd preparatory conference, and then we organized it like that. It was Dr. Höcker, the deputy director of STC. He spoke for Switzerland, and I spoke for United Nations University. And when I came to Geneva, this was really interesting. We began a little bit with a lobbying, and could you not believe, from Ethiopia was here the Secretary General of the African Mountain Association. Huh? And then we went on the Andean side, and I know these people from Peru is coming here. And I said, pay attention, guys. Today we make an intervention for a mountain chapter. Please, hand up and begin with your support. We need then the support, you know. And then I only learned that the countries speak first and the UN organization at the end. So Rudi Höcker started as a Swiss to present we need a mountain chapter and something. And I could speak as UNU representative at the end. And then was discussion. And then immediately 10 hands went up, you know. And this support from the developing world was the most important. It was not the rich countries. The feeling immediately grew up that it is wanted also from the Himalayan countries, it is wanted from Andean countries and from the African part. And this discussion there, this was really just for the leader of the discussion, a Swedish ambassador, said, like that it is clear, we need something, you know. And then, only then I began to realize what we have done. It is really true. So, very important. I think this was then the event. Later on I began to understand with that we could bring the mountains on a global level. Even if after that it needs a lot of years until the realization began. But once you have to set the point, and from then on, you can always come back on it and continue. So this was my Rio, or my thing. And then I was an official delegate of the Swiss delegation